Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Welcome into Saturday Night Live. Saturday, it is Saturday. We made it. We made it to the weekend. Welcome in everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend. My name is Tanya, or TitaniumBuilt if you're new to the channel. And if you're not new to the channel, well, welcome on in. If you're new to the channel, welcome on in. Both of you. Both of you, just welcome in. Welcome in. So I don't know about these charges myself. I was reading the chat earlier. Yeah, it's a little... We're going to read through one of the documents and it's weird. It's weird. But I think at first people were wanting charges. I was a person that wasn't one of those people, but a lot of people wanted someone to be charged in this case. And I think maybe that's what got the officers to charge these two. I don't know. We're going to have to look through the documents. I read through the arrest affidavit. We'll read through it again, but it sounds like that one of the other guys had to connect to this guy. So it wasn't just Jordan. So, but we're going to be talking about a new case kind of, if you're newer to the channel, but this is actually an older case. It happened 14 months ago and they're just now arresting somebody. So we'll go through a little bit of what happened and I'll pull up a picture so that way everyone can kind of remember who we're talking about and what we're talking about. So hello, Ladybug. Hey, Chai. Hey, Dawn. How are you doing? It's good to see you guys. Good to see you guys in chat. Hey, Just Breathe. Is that what they were talking about? Somebody was talking about Big Bear earlier. But they're talking about the skiing lodge. I don't know why. But it's good to see you. Hey, DM. Hey, Petunia. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Karina. I'm sure people will come in as I'm chit-chatting with you guys too. Hey, Avery. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, maybe they're trying to start charging people for that. I mean, it would have to be like, I don't know, not in this case. This is a weird case. Thanks, Chai. I appreciate that. Just got it done. I'm under here. I'm under here somewhere. But thank you. I don't know if I said hi to you, Stephanie, but hello, Stephanie. And thank you, DM. I appreciate that. I had rollers in it like all day today. Like, well, the last few hours I have. So I got extensions if you don't know, but that's where all the hair came from. Your girl was needing it. She was needing her hair back. She cut it. Well, she got a bad cut, bad color. And then I was like, So now we're trying to let it grow back out. You're putting the couch together? Well, that's fun, Mary Beth. That's the good part about moving though. You get new stuff. I love that. Now I need to help you like decorate. Just send me a picture of an empty room and tell me what you got and I will decorate it for you. I'm like, I think we've decorated everything here except for the balcony. I want to redo that. But before we get started, I'll tell you, there's like two little pigeons that decided, okay, so we have like blinds on one side of our balcony. That way, whenever I take the dogs, like let the dogs out on the balcony, there used to be a dog that was downstairs and they would always bark. So I would put the blind down so if the dogs don't see the other dog, they don't bark. Well, the last 2 springs, we've had these birds come. Like it was robin and their mate, like 2 robins last year. And then this year it's 2 pigeons. And they've just been chilling, looking at us like on the balcony. And I was like, Vincent, they're building a nest, I bet. And today I looked up and they, for sure, they're building a nest on my blinds. It's a safe spot. So I won't be using the blinds for the spring, which kind of stinks because I wanted to go out there and do lives with you guys. But I don't want the birds poop on me. Did they extreme blonde? I'm excited about it. Yeah, it's taken all of it, all the heat and styling. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's been nice. And you don't even really have to do a whole lot if you don't want to, which is even nicer. But we are going to talk about the Kansas City massacre, Kansas City murders. It's not even murders. Kansas City case. Let's just say that. I think we called it the Kansas City mystery. That's what we were calling it back when it first happened because there wasn't really, you know how like names will get with cases when there's multiple victims. They didn't have a name for this group of guys, but we've got Ricky Johnson, David Harrington, and Clayton McGeeney. And those are 3 guys that were last seen alive on January 7th. They were watching a Kansas City Chiefs game with their friend Jordan Willis. And let me find. Okay, here's a picture of him. So these 4 were watching the game together. It's been a year-long investigation into this. Prosecutors have charged Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson. I think it's, let me see. I want to make sure I'm saying his name right. Ivory Carson. And so this is Jordan now. And then and he went to rehab and stuff too. So maybe after rehab, I don't know. And then this is the alleged rug dealer. So both men face 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 2 counts of delivering a controlled substance. Police say that Carson, known as Blade Brown, supplied and sold cocaine to Willis and the victims. Investigators found Carson's DNA on a bag of fentanyl inside of Willis's home. Willis and Carson remain in jail on a $100,000 bail or bond, cash bond. If convicted, they could face up to 10 years, I believe, on each charge, like up to 10 years on each charge. So there is a little bit up here. I'm going to read through these notes so I don't get them wrong. But let me see if I could, put the guys back up here. But during the investigation, law enforcement initially said that they did not suspect foul play. That's why we kind of moved on from the case. But a toxicology report later confirmed that the men had cocaine, THC, and fentanyl in their systems. Police have since ruled the deaths as caused by fentanyl and cocaine toxicity. Now, that right there tells me that the snow and the cold didn't like kill these guys. That's not what did them in. They're saying that the actual drugs did them in. And to me, that just doesn't sound, it just does. It sounds, I don't know. I think them like passing out and dying in the snow sounds like, of the cold, sounded more plausible than them all just like dying at the same time over a drug, toxicity. But I don't know. As the case progressed, Willis, which was Jordan Willis was the friend that had them over. He had moved out of his home and he checked into a rehab. And a forensic analyst went through Harrington's phone, which is David Harrington, and they uncovered messages between Willis, McGeeney, Johnson, and others, and linking Carson to the cocaine supply. So DNA evidence identified Willis as a major contributor, and he was the drug supplier. He would get it from, Willis would go and get it from Carson, and then bring it back for them to do. That's what I'm gathering out of all of it. But in the arrest affidavit, it says a little more. So it's like it says something in here, and it's going to make you go, I don't know. Hello guys. It's almost like, is it their? I mean, these are grown men. I will say that. Now, the only thing that bothers me is if these guys, and I don't know how far I could even take this like argument now, but if they thought they were getting one thing and they got another thing, but in the same vein there, no pun intended, like, I don't know. Like, if they're going to do those, they're going to put that stuff in their body. They should know, I guess. People should be aware that it could contain fentanyl. I mean, everyone should just know. From now on, everyone should just think that. Like, should just think. Because I've had friends, I had a friend die around the same time. I think it was probably about 2 years ago now. I went to school with him. His dad tutored me. I wouldn't have graduated high school if it wasn't for his dad, because I was in a bad car accident and couldn't go to school. So they would bring me all my schoolwork. He thought him and his girlfriend went out on a Saturday night, and they decided to, I guess, have a little more fun that night than, just the drinking. And they thought they were getting something, and they ended up it was laced with fentanyl. They were found 2 days later. And they were inside a home, though. They were found inside, and both were deceased. So, I mean, it can happen. And this person, when you like, if you saw him and you knew him, you'd be like, no way. But you never know. You never know who's going to decide they want to do that. And it's people cut it because they're going to make more money that way. They don't care. They don't care about anybody. They want the money. So this is the arrest affidavit, probable cause, and it was filed on March the 5th. So just recently, and it's only a couple pages, 2 pages long. So we'll read through it. It's not the 18 pages, you got for Idaho 4, but it says a lot. And it says, it's for Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson, and involuntary manslaughter, and then the distribution of controlled substance. So on January 9th, 2024, at approximately 21:51 hours, officers of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department were dispatched to 5208 Northwest 83rd, Kansas City, Platte County, Missouri, on a reported dead body. So this was 2 days after the guys had went there for the football game. On January 9th, witness 1, and I'm assuming that witness 1 is going to be Clayton McGeeney's fiance. But they stated that they were unable to contact Clayton McGeeney white male, 311, 1987, and responded to the house where they observed McKinney's red in color Ford F-150 parked in front of the house. I'm not going to say the address every time. I don't know why they did that. Witness 1 stated McGeeney was at that address on 1/7, so 2 days prior, to watch a football game and party with Jordan Willis, white male, and doesn't give his date of birth. I don't know why. David Harrington and Ricky Johnson. Witness 1 stated they attempted to contact anyone inside the residence by knocking on the door, and when there was no response, Witness 1 made entry into the residence through a basement window. So she had went up to the house. I think she went up there like 2 different times and knocked, and they weren't coming. Like Jordan wasn't coming to the door, but she could see their vehicles, like her fiance's vehicle was sitting right in the, parking lot, like not in the parking lot, but right off of the house is, he's not in the driveway, but he's like right off the road, parked along the road. So she sees that, and like any, fiance would do, she's like, I'm gonna break in this place and I'm gonna go find my man. And that's what she was planning on doing, which is pretty smart, I guess. She says that she went through the basement window. Witness 1 stated they located a deceased party on the back patio and called the police. Witness 1 stated that they knew McKinney to drink and use cocaine when McKinney was with the guys. Witness 1 stated that McGeeney would get low on money. Willis would usually supply cocaine to his friends. Witness 1 stated they knew McKinney and Johnson did not have any money prior to the party. So I don't know if that's, it doesn't make any sense to me. Some of the stuff doesn't, like the arrest really don't make, I don't know. I need to see what I guess all the evidence is. It's just weird. On 1/9/2024, detectives entered Jordan Willis's house on assigned consent to search and located item 1, a plastic bag containing a white powdery substance in the top drawer of an end table, and item number 2, a small plastic baggie containing a white residue on top of the entertainment center in the living room in the northeast corner of the residence. The deceased bodies of McKinney, Harrington, and Johnson were all located in the backyard. On 1/9/2024, Willis stated on January 7th, so 2 days prior when they were watching the game, McKinney, Harrington, and Johnson came over to his residence to watch a football game where they were all drinking and smoking marijuana. Willis stated he believed McKinney, Harrington, and Johnson possibly got a hold of some fentanyl at some point on Sunday. Oh, you lied. Willis stated he believed McGeeney, Harrington, and Johnson all left his residence on 1/8/2024 around 400 hours. On the 12th of January, a doctor with Forensic Medical of Kansas ruled the deaths of Harrington, McKinney, and Johnson to be due to fentanyl and cocaine combined toxicity. On January 23rd, 2024, it was reported item 1, which was the baggie with the powdery substance, was analyzed by the Kansas City Regional Crime Lab and was found to contain cocaine weighing 2.8 plus 0.0008 grams. Item number 2 was analyzed by the Kansas City Regional Crime Lab and was found to contain fentanyl. Okay. So there was one bag that contained cocaine in it. No fentanyl, it looks like. But then the second, like the little bag with the powdery substance, there was nothing in it. They just had a powdery substance on it, like it had already been ingested. That contained fentanyl. On March 22nd, Witness 2 stated, Witness 2 and her friends used cocaine, and to Witness 2's knowledge, Harrington, Johnson, and McKinney had never used fentanyl. Witness 2, I believe, is the guy that was that hung out in the beginning of the night with all of them and then left. Stated on 1/7/2024, witness number 2, Harrington, Johnson, McKinney, and Willis, and witness number 3, this is what I don't get. We're all at Harrington's residence. Okay, so they were all over visiting and hanging out at David Harrington's residence, one of the victims. before they went to Jordan Willis's house. So it says, for the football game, where witness 2 observed a large plate with anywhere from a half ounce to an ounce of cocaine, which was supplied by Willis, and everyone present was using the cocaine. Witness number 2 stated Willis was the only person in the group who could find and purchase that amount of cocaine. Witness number 2 stated that he talked with Harrington Johnson McKinney and found out witness number 2 Harrington, Johnson, McKinney, and Willis were going to Willis's residence after the game. Witness number 2 then left Harrington's residence and went home. Witness number 2 stated that witness number 3, Harrington, Johnson, and McKinney were usually supplied cocaine by Blade Brown, identified as Ivory Carson. So he told on you, bud. And then in July 10th, 2024, it was reported DNA evidence recovered from item number 1, which had previously been analyzed, was compared to the DNA profiles of Willis, who was found to be the major contributor. Now, maybe he was the one that was dishing it out for everybody. He bought it. I could see that. Like, him, just his DNA being on it. July 26th, 2024, it was reported a data extraction of Harrington's cellular phone revealed messages between Harrington, Johnson, McKinney, Willis, and Carson and others consistent with the purchase and use of cocaine. So I guess no fentanyl in there. The messages showed the main sources of supply for Harrington was Carson. Further, the messages confirmed witness 1's statement that when low on money, McKinney, Harrington, and Johnson would hang out with Willis, as Willis would supply them with cocaine. Man, that sucks. That's why they hung out with you, I guess. On September 16th, witness number 3 stated that on the 1st of January, or the 7th of January, witness 3, McKinney, Harrington, and Johnson all went to Willis's residence to watch a football game where they drank alcohol, smoked marijuana, and used cocaine. Witness 3 left the residence on 1/7/2024 between around midnight, while McKinney, Harrington, Johnson, and Willis were still at the residence. On 12/12, it was reported DNA evidence recovered from item number 2, which had previously been analyzed, was compared to the DNA profile of Carson, who was found to be the major contributor. And that's the one that had the fentanyl on it. Now, I could see him being in trouble, I just don't really know Jordan's, I know he could have been the middle guy, but they all were in a text message together. You know what I mean? So any of those 3 guys could have reached out to Ivory Carson, their own self, if they really wanted to. They didn't need Jordan Willis. I mean, a rug dealer is a rug dealer. If you text them and say, hey, can I get the rugs? They're going to be like, yeah, sure. Who is this? And then you tell them who you are. And then they're going to remember you probably. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, you're what's his name's friend. Cool. Yeah. Come on through or whatever. I don't know how that works, but roll on by. So then that could be why he's been arrested. On 7/24 and on 2/5/25, investigators interviewed Carson. Carson admitted to selling cocaine by the gram to Johnson, Willis, Harrington, and McKinney prior to 1/1/24. So, I mean, he admits to that, but that doesn't mean that he's admitting to the fentanyl. So, and welcome in, everybody. Hey, Samantha. Hey, Anna. Hey, Wizard. Hey, Squeaky. I was on another page reading. Couldn't see everybody. Hey, Sean. Samantha, some of them are getting legalized. I mean, they're using what, I don't want to get it wrong, but you know what I mean? They're using ketamine and stuff, not ketamine, but shrooms and things like that for a lot of mental disabilities now, which more power to you, I guess. I don't know how that would really work with, that, but maybe it does the opposite. So, Nancy Grace did do a video on this, so we'll watch her in just a second, but they came out and they did a press conference. It's 6 minutes long. I figured we would watch it. And they just are going to tell us about why they charged these 2 guys with, 3 counts of manslaughter. That's That's a big charge. That's a big charge. I wonder how much. I said up to 10 years for each one. So we'll see.
I am prosecuting attorney Eric Zahn. With me is Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves, Deputy Chief Doug Niemeyer, Detective Philip Sipple, and Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Colin Van Osterd. We're here today to announce charges against two men for drug distribution and manslaughter in the deaths of Clayton McGeeney, David Harrington, and Ricky Johnson. These three men were found dead outside a Platte County home on January 9, 2024. Today, Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson have been charged with distribution of a controlled substance and 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter. This case has received considerable attention from the media, and I think some people seem to believe that charges may never be brought in this case. People may have doubted this investigation because it has spanned more than a year. But understand this, the Kansas City Police Department and my office do not rest on homicide cases until we have exhausted every possible resource to bring anybody we believe responsible to justice. Today's charges are the product of hard work of Kansas City detectives.
But is it homicide? Like, when do we, are we going to start, like, blaming the dealers now? Is that going to be like the new thing, Because this world, where we are getting a little sensitive. But they were adults. They were grown men. They were my age. Actually, they were like a year younger than me or whatever, but still. I think that it should go without saying, if you ingest something that's chemically made, like if it's chemically made like on the stove or something and you ingest it, you don't know what you're ingesting. Like, you should probably just be like, that should just be like in the forefront of your brain. Like, this looks like this, but it could be anything.
Detectives and prosecutors over those many months.
Exactly. Not unless unless something's like really sneaky is going on. Like, I don't know.
Let me summarize the probable cause statement in this case, and we will have copies of the
Jordan was smart,
including the entire probable cause statement for you after our statements here. As I've mentioned, Clayton McGeeney, David Harrington, and Ricky Johnson were found dead outside defendant Jordan Willis's home in the 5200 block of Northwest 83rd Terrace in the Platte County portion of Kansas City on January 9. Mr. McGeeney's fiance told police that Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson had gone to Mr. Willis's home to watch the Kansas City Chiefs football game on January 7th. When she could not contact Mr. McGeeney, she went back to the home on January 9th and found at least one person dead on the back patio. Temperatures had dropped below freezing the night of the Chiefs game. Officers with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department responded to that scene and found Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson's bodies in the backyard of the home. Detectives then obtained consent to search the home. They found 2 plastic bags containing white powdery substances. The bags were tested by the Kansas City, Missouri Police Crime Laboratory. One of those bags contained cocaine, and the probable cause statement alleges that Mr. Willis was determined to be the major contributor of DNA found on that bag. The other bag contained fentanyl, and the probable cause statement alleges that Mr. Carson was determined to be the major contributor of DNA on that bag. The probable cause statement also recounts the statement of a witness who said he was at Mr. Harrington's home with Mr. Harrington, Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Johnson, and the defendant, Mr. Willis, the night of the football game, where he saw a large plate of cocaine allegedly supplied by Mr. Willis that everyone was using. The witness said Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, Mr. Johnson were going to Mr. Willis's home after the football game. Another witness said he was with Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Willis at Willis's home later that night on January 7th, where they drank, smoked marijuana, and used cocaine. That witness left shortly before midnight. Data recovered from Mr. Harrington's phone allegedly contains text messages between Mr. Harrington, Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Willis, the defendant, Mr. Carson, and others consistent with the purchase and use of cocaine. The messages allegedly indicate that.
I have a question. I don't think. Okay, so they have 2 bags. One of it has like cocaine in it. One of it has a powdery substance. They tested and it's fentanyl. Now, who would have them separated? Like, do people do just straight fentanyl? That's probably a dumb question. That's probably a really dumb question. They probably do, right? But because I would think that you wouldn't have them separated. Like you would like mix them together. I don't know.
That Mr. Carson supplied Mr. Harrington with cocaine. A doctor with Forensic Medical of Kansas found that Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson all died of fentanyl and cocaine combined toxicity. Mr. Willis and Mr. Carson are both charged with a single count of delivery of a controlled substance and 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter for recklessly causing the deaths of Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson. Each of those charges carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. Mr. Carson is in the Platte County Jail in lieu of a $100,000 cash bond. We've been told that Mr. Willis is going to surrender himself on the warrant issued for his arrest and that he will post a $100,000 cash bond. This case is a tragic reminder of the dangers of street drugs. But make no mistake, the people who supply those drugs can and will be held accountable when people overdose. I again want to thank the men and women of the Kansas City Police Department for their tireless work on this case, as well as Mr. Van Osteren standing here with me and First Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Mark Gibson. All of these folks were intimately involved in this investigation from day one. I should caution you that the charges against Mr. Willis and Mr. Carson are merely accusations, and they are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Let me turn things over now to Chief Graves for a few additional comments.
The charges here today are a message for not only those who are grieving the lives of their loved ones who were lost to, in this case, to fentanyl, to know that the members of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department do not give up on these investigations. While this happened a year ago, our detectives continue to work on this case to get it to the point that we're at today, where charges are filed. In addition to that, this is a message to those that are bringing fentanyl into our communities, providing it to people, harming our community, that you will be held accountable, you will be arrested, and you will be charged.
Well, she got out there quick, didn't she? Okay. We'll go over here to Nancy now. Nancy's probably on one, like usual, per usual. She's been covering this since it started too. So she came out and did a video today. It came out, I believe, tonight or maybe yesterday. Let me check. Let me double check on that. I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Oh yeah, because I was going to go over this yesterday, but we didn't. We went over Idaho 4. But so she's just going to go over everything kind of that we talked about and a little more in depth. But if you guys are just now joining us, we are talking about the Kansas City, the guys that were watching the Kansas City Chiefs game when they ingested some illegal drugs and went outside. And when they went outside, they ended up passing out somehow in the snow and they succumbed to the ailments. But they're saying that their death was drug toxicity. So I don't, that's still like, that's confusing to me right there too. Cause I mean, this is what we were racking our brain about this last time, like about how we 3 grown men that are 3 different sizes, 3 different builds, 3 different tolerances, and they might have drank 3 different amounts of alcohol that night, all go at the same time. Like, now when I was listening to someone earlier and they were talking about the cold doing it, I can understand that. But you would think, I don't know, maybe they didn't think that they were not withdrawing, but overdosing. Maybe they didn't know that they were overdosing and they were just trying to help their friend. Maybe that was. And then they started, I don't know. But we'll listen to Nancy. We'll see what she has to say about all this. And thanks for being here. I appreciate it again. If you guys don't mind, just taking a second, hit the like button. I'll pause it here and there so we can commentate through it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Let me know.
The Kansas City Chiefs homicide bombshell.
And I wonder how many people that Carson guy like supplied. Like if he was I wonder if he was a big supplier.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. In the last hours, a bombshell. Two arrested over the deaths of 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans who apparently froze to death in their scientist friend backyard and on his porch, and he didn't notice a thing for 2 days. A guy is dead. Your friend is dead in a lounge chair on your porch.
Yeah.
And you go 2 days ignoring repeated calls, text messages, social media requests from family and friends. You don't see any of that. You show up at the front door in your underwear with a glass of wine and go, huh, what? 2 people arrested. Listen.
Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson have been charged with distribution of a controlled substance and 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
That from our friends at KMBC 9 News, joining me in all-star panel. But first, I want to go to a very special guest joining us. It's Jonathan Price, the brother of one of those 3 victims,
wow.
Ricky Johnson. Jonathan, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Nancy.
Jonathan, I wonder sometimes if this day would ever come. You said from the get-go, something is wrong. Something is horribly wrong. It didn't happen this way. And you were right.
Yeah, from the very beginning, it didn't make sense. And it still doesn't make sense that they were able to rule out foul play from day one. And then, with these charges, I mean, I don't know the legal definition of foul play, but it definitely seems like they now believe that there was foul play. So it just keeping us in the dark for this long is very troubling. But there is still a sense of relief among all of us that this is hopefully coming to a conclusion.
You guys have been dragged through hell and back. And during the Super Bowl, when the Chiefs were playing, I thought about you and your family. And I wondered what's going through their minds tonight as everybody's celebrating and partying. And you still did not have answers in your brother's death.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Ricky daily. And even more so when the Chiefs are playing or KU's playing. He cared much about his family, and he cared a lot about his sports. And we shared that our entire lives. And those memories will always live on. And like I said before, it's there is a sense of relief that something is coming from all of this.
Well, I was wondering, Jonathan, when everybody was celebrating and there was the big lead up to the Chiefs playing in the Super Bowl and everybody's, what's Taylor Swift going to wear? And are they going to get engaged? Is she pregnant? Blah, 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 blah. Were you thinking, what about my brother? What about my brother? Because I was thinking that the whole way through the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Every day we've been saying this, and it kind of went radio silent for a very long time, and then we were still hearing that there was no foul play. There's just too much still out there, and it's all about what's going to come out of trial. But there's still lots of questions.
Oh, yeah,
on why
you're
we were
right,
still much in the
Jonathan.
dark.
There is absolutely going to be a trial. You guys kept in the dark for so long, which must have been agonizing as you wanted so badly for your brother to get justice, and to think that for all that time he sat in his house throwing back the booze, hanging around in his underwear. And this guy is no idiot. He's a scientist, for Pete's sake. Ignoring the dead body in a lounge chair on the porch, ignoring his friend's cars parked directly in front of his house. How can you ignore that? How can you not hear the phone for 2 days, not notice that you are being barraged on social media and texts and emails, acting like nothing happened, and then to pack up and leave town? Well, this is how the whole thing started.
January 7th is a football day for the Kansas City Chiefs, as they will be playing the Los Angeles Chargers. So 38-year-old Jordan Willis invites a couple of buddies to come to his house and watch the game. David Harrington, Ricky Johnson, and Clayton McGeeney arrive at Willis's house just in time for the 3:25 kickoff.
It started snowing that I believe that night there was snow on the ground, I believe. And then I believe it was snowing that night as well. So I think that you couldn't see the tracks if there were any. I think they would have been covered up by the snow.
They enjoy the game as the Chiefs beat the Chargers 13-12, and Willis makes plans for them to get tickets to the next home game.
So everything's fine. They're all there watching the game together. Then what happens?
After the game, Jordan Willis waves the guys off and crashes on the couch.
On Monday, January 8th, Jordan Willis claims he did not leave his home at all. He would normally have to take his dogs, Sadie and Daisy, outside to do their business, but they're all staying at his dad's place.
Okay, wait a minute.
Convenient.
He described his dogs as the, quote, loves of his life. How did they end up somewhere else? Okay, that's just a tangential question. But right there, something is way wrong. Joining me, Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. Right there, Dave. Jordan Willis, and this is on a Sunday, the scientist, he waves away the friends and claims he crashes on the sofa for what, the next 2 or 3 days? I mean, if you take it from Sunday until finally the police were at the front door after the girlfriend breaks in the window to find the dead body and starts screaming. I mean, that's his story, Dave? Seriously?
And he's sticking to it, Nancy. He has always claimed that he crashed out, doesn't know what the guys did. He was sound asleep for the next 72 hours. And he missed all the messages. He didn't get any text messages, phone calls, because that phone was ringing off the hook. All those guys, family and friends, were reaching out to him because they were always in contact. But Jordan Willis claims he slept through the entire thing for 3 days, and he only got up when they, basically broke into his house to tell him.
I'll believe him. Look at him. I'll believe him. I believe this fool right here could sleep for 3 days, 2 days. Look at me. Look, he'd been sleeping when they woke him up. They probably woke him up to arrest him.
There were dead guys on the backyard.
Jonathan Price is with me. This is Ricky Johnson's brother who passed away. When I think about what he went through, it was so cold out there. Do you let yourself, I try not to think about what my fiance went through when he was murdered. He was shot 5 times in the face, the neck.
What's going on, Nancy?
The head. And I try not to
In and
think
out
about
on
it
us.
because it will mess me up so badly. And I have children to raise. Do you ever let yourself think about what Ricky went through while their friend was inside in his underwear, passed out?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Especially with these 3 gentlemen being inseparable for a very, very long time, and for all 3 of them to happen at the exact same time. And
yeah, who was smoking? Who wanted to go smoke or
some of them
something?
were going through in the final moments of seeing maybe one of their friends go down first. There's so many questions still on how that would have happened.
And I pray that all the facts, not just some of the facts, but that all the facts will come out and we will know. Is no idiot. 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I never knew. My friend was dead on the back porch, and my other friends were dead lying in my yard. How can he say that? Oh yeah, and all the phone calls and all the texts and all the emails and all the social media. He said he was wearing noise canceling headphones for 3 days.
Who does that in their home?
Says he was wearing noise.
Why would you wear noise canceling headphones in your home by yourself? When you don't live by a train, you don't need to sleep for work, you're working from home. That's a little weird.
Canceling earphones, and he was in his house. He didn't notice the car in front, and he didn't notice 3 of his friends. He wasn't texting them the day after, hey guys, let's go get tickets for the next game because the Chiefs had won. Completely acted like he was completely shut off from the whole world. And noise canceling headphones, sure, maybe you can't. Right. You maybe can't hear a little thing in the next room, but you're going to hear people beating on your door and you're going to see your phone blowing up for 2 days.
So let me understand something, Dave Mack. How many days passed before the girlfriend, the fiance, has to come and literally break in?
I think it was 1 day
when
or
did
two.
that happen? Just give me a number.
2 days. All right, 2 days. Nancy.
What day was
the game
it?
Was on. The game was on
it
January,
Tuesday?
Yeah, it game was on Sunday, the 7th, and Tuesday, the 9th, is the day police are at the door.
Okay, you know what? They didn't teach me math in law school, but 7, 8, 9. That's 3 days. 7 is Sunday, the day of the game, which is in the early afternoon. All night, all day Monday, until finally Tuesday, when the fiance is beside herself. She can't find her fiance and goes looking for him. Listen.
I would have done the same
January
thing. 8th. I would have crawled my happy butt through that basement windows quicker than quick. If I saw Vincent's car out front, no Vincent. Yeah, I would.
Friends and family are concerned they were headed to Jordan Willis' house to watch the game. But now none of the guys, including Jordan Willis, are replying to messages on social media or by phone.
On Tuesday, January 9th, 9:51 p.m., Clayton McGeeney's fiance shows up at the house. She sees the cars in the driveway, and since nobody is answering the phone or replying to messages, she breaks into the home and screams Willis's name. She walks through the house, then she looks on the back porch and sees a body.
Oh my stars. Okay, Jonathan Price is joining me. This is Ricky's brother, beloved brother, I might add. They grew up together and they would argue about who's going to watch Power Rangers and who's going to watch ESPN. Very, very loving relationship their whole lives. In my mind, that's 3 days. You got the Chiefs game, early afternoon Sunday. They're together. Then Sunday night, all day Monday night, and then Tuesday, 9:51. That's nearly 10 o'clock at night. Clayton's fiance comes hysterical, trying to find him and has to break in. And
I thought it was in the morning.
Dead
Huh.
body. Is my timing correct, Jonathan?
I thought it was in the
I
morning.
mean, it appears to be correct. I'm not very good at math either. But there's a question in my mind that there's no possible way you can sleep that long and just not know what's going on.
I agree, Jonathan. No way. What was he doing in there? Joining me is a veteran defense attorney who has handled a number of high-profile cases. Derek Smith is joining me out of Ohio. He's at dwsmithlegal.com. Derek,
representing
really?
Ohio.
The defense, I slept through
Don't
the
get
whole
yelled
thing.
at.
I mean, for those of you just joining us, finally, movement, a bombshell arrest of 2 people in connection with the deaths of 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans who were frozen to death in their buddy, the scientist's backyard. Derek Smith, Can he really look at a jury and say, I slept for 3 days with noise canceling headsets on? I knew nothing?
Yes and no. This is a terrible situation. His best friends, some of his friends he's with his whole entire life, like they said, they were very close. Utter shock and disbelief and just manic depression will put somebody down. Looking out your window and seeing your friends in the condition they were in, that's enough right there to send a person into deep shock, disbelief, and just pass right back out. Does not want to be part of reality.
Okay, that's a good one. So he saw the bodies and then passed back out. You know, to Dr. Heidi Green joining me, clinical psychologist, trauma specialist, author of The
you're a
Path to
fighter.
Self-Love and World Domination.
I mean, if he's a fighter, then yeah, maybe.
drheidigreen.com. Dr. Heidi, so now we're getting a spin on that and no telling what it's going to look into by the time this goes to trial. So Jonathan Price, brace yourself. So Derek Smith is spinning it out. You know, like Rumpelstiltskin would take that nasty hay out of the barn and spin it into gold. He is now hypothesizing that the defendant, one of the two arrested in the deaths of 3 people that were left to freeze out in the yard, one on his porch, is that he came to from his deep sleep. You know, I'll throw in Sleeping Beauty there. He came to, saw the dead body of his friend, and then passed out. Dr. Heidi Green, psychologically speaking, that seems very unlikely to me.
So it is very unlikely that he fell unconscious for 72 hours as a result of a significant trauma. And we can say if your friends died accidentally, if that's what we're going with, and you saw them in your home, it's obviously possible that you would have a significant trauma response. And that trauma response could include a freeze response. I could see
3 days. 3 days though, I mean, you know me, I'm all about the freeze and flight, and I'm all about that. Like I've talked about it many times. I've talked about myself having those issues, but I don't know about this case.
being in their house,
not that long,
terrified to answer the phone, terrified to go and look at the bodies, wanting to essentially just pretend like nothing's going on. But to actually be unconscious for 72 hours, that seems far less likely as a trauma response.
Do you think he could have saw the bodies and he did have a trauma response, right? And he froze or flight or whatever he decided to use. And then when he came to and he realized, oh my gosh, there's like 3 dead bodies out in my backyard. Do you think that he thought, oh, it's like been so many hours, like now they're going to think that I did it if I call? Maybe he got scared to call. I don't know. I'm not trying to give the guy excuses. I'm just trying to figure out how mine works. I don't really think he saw them either. Because the way that the stuff was set up, it was set up to where if his blinds were closed, he wouldn't see them.
Clayton McGeeney's fiance calls police. Officers arrived to find Willis in his underwear with an empty glass of wine in hand, according to the victims' families. The other 2 bodies were then found in the backyard. Jordan Willis tells police he has no idea what happened. John Picerno, an attorney representing Willis, said his client had no idea his friends were dead until police knocked on his door. Haley Latier wrote, "My husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. My friend banged on his door and then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence. While she's inside and still nothing from him, then the cops come 10 minutes later, and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass in hand. Nothing is adding up. Dave, Clay, and Ricky need and deserve justice."
Yes, they do. And in the last hours, a bombshell. 2 people arrested in the deaths of 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans found apparently frozen
pick up the wine glass
on his porch and backyard. Jonathan Price is with me. This is Ricky's brother. Jonathan, your brother is always described as a Kansas City Chief fan. That's really not doing him justice. He was so much more. Tell me.
Well, Ricky was, very humble. He loved everybody he ever interacted with. He always saw the good in people. he helped out anybody in need, anytime, no matter if at one time they were seen as, enemies or just not friends in general. But he was just such a kind person, loving father, brother, son, cousin. He was truly cherished by our entire family.
Tell me
Man.
about your family.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, kids.
we grew up, separated at some points, but we always came together for family events. We were always there at Christmas times, holding our own different Christmases to make sure that all of our schedules matched up to where we can all see each other. And when I was in the military, anytime I came home, Ricky and my other brother Rusty, they always made it a point, and my sister Lisa, they always all made it a point to come home all to be together every time. So we cherished each other, and there's very fond memories of Ricky growing up and everything he was to all of us.
When you say the memories you had growing up, what memories?
Well, my love for football, my love for all sports came from Ricky. Seeing my two oldest brothers, throwing the football farther than I could imagine when I was, small child. I looked up to them. That's a picture of us right there with the X Factor at the Kansas City game. We went to the very first game that Patrick Mahomes was playing in the preseason, and he met my entire family. And even though we were states away, we always talked about the sports of Kansas City and everything that we were accomplishing finally after so many years of being an up and down team. We shared a lot of memories together, and I love them.
Guys, tonight we are learning more about the deaths of the so-called 3 Chiefs fans. Listen.
As news starts to spread of the 3 friends freezing to death in the backyard while their friend is asleep inside, the families of the victims begin to speak out and ask questions. The biggest question for Jordan Willis is what happened. Next was why didn't you answer calls, text messages, and social media messages from family and friends of the 3 men?
The Daily Mail reports Willis insists he spent the next 2 days in his home, not thinking anything of the fact that his friends' cars were still outside, and only learned they died when the fiance of one of the men broke into the house on January 9th in the hopes of finding him.
Jonathan Price, where were the victims' cars parked in relation to the friend's home?
Well, I guess if you're, based on what I've heard, if you look out the front door, they were just off to the right. And I guess there was potentially 2 out of the 3 cars, because I think someone might have carpooled. But either way, my brother drove an F-150, so it was, semi-large truck right there in the front. There's no way to miss it.
So Barry Hutchinson joining me, former LE, now chief investigator for Barry and Associates Investigative Services in Kansas and Missouri. Barry, let me understand. So this guy, the so-called friend, could find a wine glass and fill it up with wine and find his noise-canceling headphones. He could find those, he could see those, but he couldn't see his dead friend on the porch and in the yard or their vehicles parked in front of his house?
Nancy, this story, his excuses for how everything happened, it just makes no sense at all. I've been thinking about this, and one of the things that I thought about, the guy came to the door in his underwear, and he said that he had been asleep for 72 hours. We knew that he'd been drinking a lot, apparently. So if he slept for a solid 3 hours, don't you think his body would have evacuated while he was asleep for 3 solid days if he never got up? He would have wet himself. Did he come to the door with soiled underwear, or did he look like he urinated on himself? When you arrest a drunk on the street, most of the time, and they're awake, they pee all over themselves. This guy, did he look like he urinated on himself? Because if he didn't, that kind of shoots that story right in the hind end, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, he had to get up and go to the bathroom. Dr. Kendall Crown's joining me, and he's here for other reasons. But since we're on this topic, Dr. Kendall Crown's with me, Chief Medical Examiner, Tarrant County, that's Fort Worth. never a lack of business. Esteemed lecturer at Burnett School of Medicine, TCU, and launching a new podcast, DOA, Dead on Arrival, March 7. Dr. Crowns, is that true? What Barry just told us? I mean, how could he go 72 hours drinking, let me add that in, and not getting up and finding his way to the bathroom?
Oh, I agree with that.
You're going to check
There's
your
no
cell
way he
phone.
could sleep for 3 days after consuming that much alcohol and also eating, that your body wouldn't urinate on itself or defecate. So it's impossible to believe that he spent that entire time asleep and not getting up and at least going to the bathroom.
As the investigation heated up, Jordan Willis moved out of the home and checked into rehab. A forensic data extraction found text messages on Harrington's phone between Willis, McGeeney, Johnson, and others that proved Carson was the person who supplied the group with cocaine. DNA evidence matched Willis, identifying him as a major contributor. And DNA evidence from the second bag matched Carson, confirming his role as the drug supplier.
Packs up and goes to rehab. So, to Jonathan Price, when did you learn that the so-called best friend of your brother packs up, clears out the house, takes his dog, and goes to rehab?
Like a week.
I mean, the only time that we found out was whenever it was reported in the news, which is kind of the unfortunate part of all this. But if you have the mental capacity to know you have a problem after the fact and check yourself into rehab, then you know more about what happened that night. And I don't know if he shared that or not with the authorities, but the fact that he was not detained, after that night for the past 14 months doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, to Derek Smith, why is that the go-to with
Oh,
your
arrest
clients
them. No.
and all the stars? It's only after they're busted for something that they suddenly realize they have a problem and they hide out in rehab.
Well, unfortunately, it takes an event like that to really change a lifestyle or change a mindset, or even in these cases, a serious addiction. I mean, it's akin to being in a certain way of life, certain way of doing things. Everything's fine as long as everything's fine. And then something tragic or something terrible or the law gets involved, and you have to make a drastic change. And that's unfortunately just how it is sometimes.
And joining me right now is a special guest just joining us. Eric Zand is with us. It is the Platte County prosecutor who was working on the case. And I know, Eric, number one, thank you for being with us. But I know what you can say is limited, having been a prosecutor for many years myself. But I want to thank you for being with us. The family questioned this from the get-go. And I know the prosecutors get the case once LA law enforcement finishes their investigation. But I'm sure you know, having dealt with so many crime victims, how agonizing this has been for the family to be waving the banner. This isn't right. This isn't normal. This guy's not innocent. He won't say a word to us about what happened. This is the alleged best friend. They've been waiting all this time. Now, Eric, don't get me wrong. I'm glad we finally have bombshell arrests in the deaths of the 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans. But what took so long? Please explain it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nancy. This was a long time coming, and our hearts absolutely go out to these family members. I met with them shortly after these deaths, and it's just really tragic. And these cases are tough to put together. Tracking down who's responsible for providing these drugs is no easy task. But I can't tell you how proud I am, Nancy, of the Kansas City Police Department and prosecutors in my office who from day one said that they weren't going to rest until we exhausted every possible resource to bring the people we believe responsible for these crimes to justice. And yesterday was the first step in that. As you know, these men are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty, but we've charged them what we think happened, which was providing cocaine and fentanyl and causing the deaths of these 3 men.
As a matter of fact, this is what Platte County prosecutor Eric Zand had to say.
A doctor with Forensic Medical of Kansas found that Mr. McGeeney, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Johnson all died of fentanyl and cocaine combined toxicity.
That from our friends at KMBC 9 News. So, Eric, your assertion, what you're going to prove, I think, in trial is that the casual use of a little cocaine, although family says that at least one of the victims had never used cocaine before, but the casual use of cocaine turned deadly because it was cut with fentanyl.
Yeah, in this case, what we allege is that there were 2 baggies found at the scene. One of those baggies contained cocaine. The other baggie, we allege, contained fentanyl. The ME found that it was a combination of those 2 drugs that caused these men's death. And so we've charged both of the men, one of them who we believe provided the cocaine, the other who we allege sold the fentanyl that caused these deaths. And we allege, because we charged them with manslaughter, that they recklessly caused the deaths of these 3 men.
As a matter of fact, listen to what Jonathan Price had to say.
From the very beginning, he said that before the 5th person came out, he said that Jordan was there sporadically throughout the day. And then and then he also did not mention a 5th person, but once the 5th person came out, then he changed it to saying that there was a 5th person and that he was asleep the entire time. So those were 2 very specific details that were specific in the opening statement, but then changed over time.
So Alexis Tereszczuk joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter, the best friend now charged in a homicide case, changed his story. He never mentioned anybody else was there beside him and his 3 buddies, all dead, frozen dead in the backyard. And he goes 3 days and doesn't notice they're on his back porch. There's a mystery guy, a 5th person, Alexis. He changed his story. Why?
Because the 5th person was a person that provided the drugs, according to police. This is somebody who they have all known for quite a while, that Jordan has known, and he was contacted, and this man brought the drugs. So there's cocaine. Jordan Willis's DNA is on the cocaine. Ivory Carson's DNA is on the bag of fentanyl, and that is the toxic combination that killed these men. So he had come over and brought them the cocaine. And the way that the police found this out wasn't through Jordan Willis. He never mentioned any of these details. But David Harrington's phone is the one phone that they were able to extract evidence from. And they saw on there were group chats about buying the cocaine. Willis was the one that would always provide it for them. These other guys didn't have enough. Cocaine's expensive. It's not a cheap drug. And then you top that off with the fentanyl, and he was the one that did it. So there were group chat text messages that showed that these were how they got the drugs.
To Eric Zan joining me right now, Platte County prosecutor who is charged with lassoing all this evidence and presenting it to a jury. Did he really think we wouldn't find out about the 5th guy, the mystery man? And all of his statements at the get-go, that was never mentioned. Now we know why. He was the dope dealer.
Well, and Nancy, I can't comment on exactly.
Well, no, there was another guy there. Their friend was there, not the dope dealer.
What either of these defendants thought or said, but what
He was there during the game, and then he left after the game. Remember, he was there like over at Harrington's for the game, and then after the game, he left.
We allege that Mr. Willis provided cocaine, and Mr. Carson sold fentanyl to these men, and we allege that resulted in the deaths of these 3 great people who were boyfriends, husbands, fathers, sons of people in Kansas City. It's truly tragic. And here's what folks have to understand: if you deal drugs and somebody dies as a result, we will do everything we can to make sure that you're held accountable for the deaths of those people. That's exactly what we're trying to do in this case.
These 3 men were inseparable. You look at any of their Facebooks, any picture that's posted that's not of their family, it's of these men. And if just one of them, even 2 of them, passed out at the same time, which is already like impossible, the other man would have absolutely brought them inside and called for help, something. So that's just insane.
What if Clayton, because I saw him smoking a cigarette in one of the pictures, what if he went outside to smoke a cigarette and he didn't come back in after like 5 or 10 minutes? And the guys were like, let's go out and check on him. Or maybe one guy went out and checked on him and he was already like, passed out, maybe like already succumbing to the ailments of being outside. Because like it was really cold that night. So your body temperature would drop really quickly. I think they said within like an hour, you would be like in shock or something, like where you wouldn't feel anything anymore. So I wonder if one guy went out and then that person ends up passing out. It's just so unheard of for 3 guys to be passed out, to be unalive, in different spots in the backyard. One of them sitting in a chair. I could literally just sitting straight up in a chair. Well, he was, I think, hunched over a little bit, but because gravity was taking pull, but it's crazy to me.
This is what Platte County Prosecutor Eric Zahn tells us.
He saw a large plate of cocaine allegedly supplied by Mr. Willis that everyone was using.
According to prosecutors, the defendant provided it. The scientist, the HIV researcher Jordan Willis, age 39, the best friend, supplied a plate of coke, possibly laced with fentanyl, to his friends. You were just hearing from our friends at KMBC 9 News to Dr. Kendall Crowns joining us. Dr. Kendall Crowns, I want to understand how the use of these drugs, potentially cocaine cut with fentanyl, don't know if they knew it was cut with fentanyl, what that would look like. I mean, it's hard for me to understand, although I've heard about it, I've prosecuted, I've seen it at crime scenes, where you have a party and there's a plate of cocaine out. I mean, I would think there'd be sandwiches and chicken wings, right? Celery, carrots, ranch dip. There's a plate of cocaine and everybody's doing it. How many times have you heard that? Mom, everybody's doing it. How are people supposed to know that cocaine can be laced with fentanyl and what fentanyl can do with you? Even a touch of fentanyl can kill you. So what would fentanyl look like? Can
Same
it
as
be
cocaine?
in a powder form?
Yes, it can. Actually, it'll be kind of it can be in a white powdery form. It can be in the form of a fake Percocet, which is a blue pill that has an M30 label on it. It can be a patch. It can even be on a lozenge type sucker is one of the ways it is distributed.
Oh yeah, it's
But
one of those
anyway,
patches.
cocaine,
Then patches didn't work.
if it's cut with something, fentanyl can be very deadly, and you don't know how much fentanyl has been put in there, how much fentanyl you're actually getting with the amount of cocaine that's been cut with it. So that's why you could have a group of people sitting together and 3 of them die and 2 of them live, because one got more fentanyl than the other, because it's really not
Absolutely.
regulated like a drug through the FDA. It's just widely all over the place. So that's why the street drugs are very dangerous, is you never know what you're getting. And one thing, we've had cocaine cut with dog dewormer as well. So it's incredibly dangerous.
Dr. Kendall Crowns, I have investigated cases, for instance, an infant at daycare. Little did the family know that the daycare provider was storing fentanyl there. Also dealing, like I think the husband or the boyfriend was dealing. And they moved the fentanyl from one place to the next inside the daycare. And that movement released particles of fentanyl. And the infant inhaled it or touched
Oh my
it.
gosh.
It killed the baby. So if you've got a plate of cocaine laced with any fentanyl at all, there's your OD right there. What started off as, I guess, a good time ends in death. I mean, you can die from even inhaling particles or touching particles of fentanyl.
Yes, fentanyl is incredibly dangerous, and even its friend, or another derivative of it, carfentanil, is even more dangerous. It's come down to the fact that law enforcement and paramedics will now carry naloxone, which is a way to counteract the effects of the opioid in their rigs or in their cars, to, if they get exposed to it and begin having symptoms, they can take it and try and save themselves. So fentanyl is incredibly dangerous. It's not a drug you really should mess with.
I'm just thinking about these victims and how they ended up frozen in plain view of their so-called friend, Jordan Willis. I'm trying to think about their families. Dave Mack, tell me about the victims' families. I know Jonathan is here speaking on behalf of his brother, Ricky, who died that day.
Hold on. I just realized this. Remember how they said in the beginning, like we were talking about how if they didn't have money, that Jordan Willis would like front the cost for them? So what if Jordan decided to save money and he told the rug dealer to give him half coke, half fentanyl, and he was going to give the fentanyl side to the guys, thinking like they're big dudes, so they'll be fine and they'll never know the difference. And because they didn't have the money to like contribute to it. Do you know what I mean? So like, I don't know. I was just thinking of that. Wonder if, because then that would be bad. Now, I'm just trying to, I don't know why the bags would be in separate, like the drugs would be in separate baggies. I don't know. Like, I guess people do straight fentanyl. Good luck. Man.
Body sat out there freezing for so long. What about the other victims?
You think they were down for
Nancy,
it? I think they were down for the cocaine, but I don't know about the fentanyl part. That's what I can't wrap my head around,
Mr. Harrington's mom, Teresa, claims she's been kept out of the loop since the bodies were found. She said that they wouldn't tell me anything. Now she is saying that the statements made it easy to think that they had already made up their minds and there wouldn't be any further investigation. And she's really pushing back on this. She said the arrest didn't really clear up any speculation about the death, saying, quote, "I still don't know anything about how my son died or his last moments." That's pretty upsetting when you look at this over a year down the road, that she doesn't know any more than you and I might know.
Well, Kendall Crowns, what would someone go through if they literally sat outside in an accidental fentanyl stupor and froze dead? That would be horrible, but they couldn't get up and move.
So basically, fentanyl makes your respiratory drive decrease and makes your brain not think it needs enough oxygen. And so you slowly kind of drift off into a coma that eventually your brain not getting enough oxygen begins to die, which causes your lungs to fill with fluid, and then you pass away. It wouldn't necessarily immobilize you to the point that you couldn't get up and get yourself out of an unsafe situation unless you've gone into a coma. So those individuals
Why would they sit there and on the porch in a lounge chair and lay in the backyard if they could move? I mean, I'm certainly not a medical doctor, but certainly they would get up off the porch or get off the ground and come inside. According to the defendant, the door was unlocked. I submit they couldn't.
I was wondering the same thing. Do people like do straight fentanyl, like straight up? I mean, I guess I would. It's cheaper, I guess, than other things, but does it, I mean, I was on the patch. They had me on the patches after my car accident and they didn't work. So I don't know. I haven't been around this stuff other than the patches, but maybe that's why I can't get down with the get down, because it didn't do anything for me. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Well, that's if they're still conscious. If they've gotten enough fentanyl in and it's caused them to go into basically a coma, they can't move at that point, and then they will either, more likely than not, die from the fentanyl prior to dying from freezing to death. Because there are autopsy findings you'll find that'll show that they died from hypothermia or freezing to death, which I haven't seen any reports of that being found.
Alexis Tereshchuk, we keep referring to them as the Kansas City Chiefs fans, and they were so much more than that. Tell me about their families.
Well, Clayton McGeeney was engaged. He was engaged to a woman named April Mahoney, and they were very happy together. They were very young. You know, he worked in construction, small business construction, and he was going through a really rough time. There weren't a lot of jobs, but they were still together at the time. And she, in fact, started a GoFundMe to tell everybody like he was so wonderful, and he was somebody that was her whole life, and the two of them had all these future plans together, and then it was abruptly cut short. And in fact, she was the one that found them. April was trying
Look at the
to
cat.
reach him, Clayton calling him over and over again. She is the one that showed up at Jordan Willis's house. She broke through the basement window. She got out. She found Clayton, and then the other two guys dead.
She did see all three of them.
Overnight, we learned 2 arrested in the horrific deaths of 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans watching a football game with their so-called best friend. Now, behind bars, arrested the so-called best friend, Jordan Willis, and a guy named Ivory J. Carson. Okay, straight back out to Jonathan Price. This is Ricky's brother. Tell me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, summing everything up, you know, I just, you know, he was my brother. I cherished him a lot. And his 3 daughters, you know, and, you know, so a couple of them are a little bit young to fully understand. It's very difficult to think about what they are going through and the answers that they've been neglected for all of this time. And it's just, you know, makes us very distraught.
Jonathan Price, you want to set the record straight on certain issues. What?
Well, one of the things that we've been told since the beginning, which did not make sense, is the ruling out of foul play, and you know the amount of information that we've gotten since then. You know, since January 9th, it's been very disappointing. I'm glad I understand that it takes time, and you know, I'm glad that we are finally getting some answers. But there's still a lot out there that we don't fully understand. And just 3 or 4 months ago, Jordan's lawyer was saying that he thinks the charges will come, but not to Jordan. And that's from talking to some prosecutor. So that part doesn't make sense to me either. And I'm just, the more I get back into this, you know, the more pain that's coming back, just like there was back then, and the more questions that are arising from all of this.
If you know or think you know any evidence as it relates to this case, the case is ongoing and headed for trial. Please dial 816-234-5111. Repeat, 816-234-5111. We pray that justice unfolds and the truth comes out in court. And now we remember an American hero, Officer Brittany Mew, Lake County Sheriff's, Indiana, a U.S. Marine Corps veteran survived by daughter Savannah and partner Joseph. American hero, Officer Brittany Mew. Thank you to our guests, but especially to you for being with us tonight and every night.
Okay. So, yeah, that's what Nancy had to say about it. Now they did like we've been going over, they charged the 2 suspects with the involuntary manslaughter, and they pled not guilty. So I figured we would go over this before we shut out the live for the evening. But it says the 2 men arrested in connection with the deaths of 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans who were found frozen in their friend's snowy Kansas City, Missouri backyard after an NFL watch party more than a year ago pled not guilty. Jordan Willis and Ivory Carson appeared separately via video from the jail wearing orange jumpsuits during their arraignment. And I think it's Platte County, Missouri, on Thursday at 3 p.m. local time. And I couldn't find the videos of them like on the video conference. So I don't know if they were actually like broadcasted live or not. Willis's lawyer, John Pacerno, entered the not guilty plea on Willis's behalf, and the judge sorry, the judge entered the plea on behalf of Carson, who doesn't yet have an attorney and plans to apply for a public defender. The hearing lasted just minutes. Basically, do you plead guilty, not guilty? And they're like, not guilty. And then they're like, okay, here's your bond and see you later. The pair were charged Wednesday with 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 2 counts of delivery of a controlled substance except 35 grams or less of marijuana or synthetic cannabinoid, according to court records obtained and reviewed by Fox News. The Kansas City, Missouri Police Department said it investigated the 3 murders for 14 months before announcing charges. KCPD detectives never stopped working on the case, waiting for all the facts to come in. Reaching this point is a testament to their dedication to delivering justice for the victims and their loved ones. A forensic exam determined that David Harrington, 37, Clayton McGeeney, 36, and Ricky Johnson, 38, all died from fentanyl and cocaine combined toxicity, according to court documents. They were found dead in Willis's rental home outside on January 9th after watching the Chiefs play the Los Angeles Chargers on January 7th. Their bodies were found by McGeeney's fiancee, April Mahoney, who called police. Willis could not be reached by phone and did not answer his door in the days after, according to family members who searched for 3 friends who never returned home. However, Willis told police he had no idea any of his friends were dead outside and that he hadn't heard from any of his friends or their friends or family members. And then that's the back side of their house, of the house that they were at. So one of them was right up on the back porch. Willis's attorney, John Persano, I don't know if I'm saying that right, surprised that Jordan was charged with the deaths of his 3 friends. That was contrary to what the prosecuting attorney office told me several months ago. The probable cause statement submitted by the state is consistent with what Jordan stated happened. Jordan maintains that he is not responsible for purchasing or supplying the drugs that led to the deaths of his 3 friends. We are very much looking forward to the day a jury gets to hear all the evidence in this case. Willis and Carson's next court appearance is on March 11th at 10:45. So I'll keep you all updated on that. March 11th. So you write that down. Jordan Willis. Oh, I have Post-it notes right here. I use a Post-it note so I can actually see it. I'm writing on the back of the Idaho 4 probable cause affidavit. Because I swear whenever it's like closer to a court hearing, I'll go to look them up and I can never find court dates. Like, I don't know why. My computer just hates me for that. It never wants to find the right court dates. I can't believe we're in 2025, y'all. That's insanity to me. But I think that's all I've got for you. Hey, Regina. Yeah, and the family's saying, the families were saying they would never do drugs. They wouldn't do this. I think when they said that at first, they were probably in shock. I mean, my friend that died from the same exact thing, I would never have placed him as being like a druggie or anything like that. It just, I guess he happened to one night, him and his girlfriend wanted to have extra fun, I guess. I don't know. That was their thing. So it's sad. It's real sad. But I don't think the family knew anything, I don't think that they knew as much. I think they knew what they were allowed to know, but they did have the cocaine over at Harrington's house in the beginning of the night when they were watching the game. So everybody in that household, or at least him, was aware that, they were doing those things. So now, to me, if you were doing just coke, then you go to Jordan Willis's house, maybe you think you can still do the same amount because you're used to doing the one drug, and maybe they didn't know that it was combined. But if they're in 2 separate baggies, how would they not see Jordan combining them together and not saying, why are you combining those 2 things together? It's just, there's a lot of questions still, I still have a lot of questions, but that's okay. We'll get the answers eventually, and we always do. Yeah, if you have a text thread, yeah, he had a text. They had a text thread going on. That's true, Jim Girl. Yeah, because I was thinking fentanyl is like pain medication. It would be more of like a downer, I would think, to some people, most people. That I don't know where the info is about their prior charges. I just had the documents. But I could put the probable cause in here. Oh, wait. Why is it? Well, maybe I can't because it's putting my whole name in there. Just kidding. It's because it's like connected to my like account or something. That's weird. I don't know how I did that, but I did. I connected it to my name. Okay. So I think that's all I have for you guys for today. Does anybody have any exciting weekend plans? I went to the new Dick's today. That was exciting. They have like, it's like a sports arena now. Like they have like batting cages in there and golfing, like driving range. They have outdoor like baseball and basketball, and they have like all the things there. I was like, geesh, this place is fancy now. I just wanted to go look at the Stanley Cup collection. And it was smaller. So I was kind of disappointed in it. I'm a Stanley girl. So that's what I wanted to go look at. But I think tomorrow I'm going to go, we're going to go shopping a little bit. So just to like, you know, get out of the house. Right. Stupid games equals stupid prizes. That's right. I don't think the weed really did it to him, though. I think the weed probably was the least of their worries that night, you know? I was just reading the chat. Thanks for coming in and all hanging out with me. I was just trying to see how long we've been on. Oh, wow, Regina. That sounds like a good interview, though. Oh, man. I'll have to come over there and watch it. Other than me just going over to the mall, I have nothing going on tomorrow. And, we gotta go to Sam's Club. Dogs need food. Gotta feed them dogs, which I have one dog in here tonight. You can't see her. She's back there. Look at her. She threw the pillow on the floor. That's fine. I wish you could see like her eyes. Her eyes say it all. Her eyes say it all. Now they're closed, but you're not sleeping. Why are you acting like you're sleeping? She's like closing her eyes every time I look at her. Oh my gosh. I heard about that. That he was like with his mom the whole time or something though. There was a girl it was like that. Her mom kidnapped her and she was with her mom for like 17 years or something like that. She was like 18 years old or something, 19 when like the story broke. And this was years ago. I can't remember the girl's name, but I think she was stolen. I can't remember if it was like, no, it was her mom, but her dad was searching for her and it was sad. You're a hockey person, Squeaky? Vincent's brother played hockey. So they were like always going to like Canada and stuff like that, like for tournaments and stuff for his brother. They live on the West Coast, so probably was closer for them to go over there. But I'm not sure. Actually, it's only 5 hours from here, so not that far. Wow, that's amazing. Let's see if there's anything. I don't think there's anything going on. I looked earlier for Dane. Nothing going on. Man, it's so sad. We'll have to cover that again just to keep his name out there. But I don't think I have anything else. Let's see. Do I? No. I can close out some of these windows I have open. But thank you guys all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Squeaky. All this talk about drugs, I'm going to have a mixed cocktail of aspirin, Tylenol, vitamin D, and a multivitamin before bed. You should see. I mean, I have to take a sleeping medicine and a muscle relaxer. It's supposed to be for my migraines, but it puts me out. Yeah, it'll like burn through the fentanyl. Yeah, that's true. Regina, you're absolutely right. Okay. Well, I'll be back tomorrow evening. Maybe during the day. You never know. You never know. I was going to come on today, and then it was like 4:00, and I was like, well, should I wait? And then I shouldn't have. I should have came on because I was like bored. I was like, I should just go and talk to my friends online. But I'll be back on tomorrow night or tomorrow day. You never know. So make sure you hit the bell icon. But no, I'll be here tomorrow, and we'll talk about Idaho or Dane's case or someone's. We'll cover whatever cases we need to cover. We might just do maybe just do the case updates and just do a couple different cases that we're covering, because I know that there's some updates that are coming out. So thank you guys all for being here. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful Sunday if I don't see you, and have a good Monday if I don't see you. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire.